Hello and welcome back to Bump Love. Every day, hearing that there's a lockdown, hearing that there's a second wave, a third wave all around the world, usually something happens within us, whether we know it, whether we can recognize it, whether we can see it, something happens on the inside of us. In this last wave of the pandemic, many of us, the pandemic has come close to home. I personally have lost over 6 people in my family to the pandemic. So many of us are going through turmoil and we're going through stress and we're going through anxiety. And whether we know it or not, it does affect our mental health. Today on the show, we would like to talk about family mental health in a pandemic, what to do, what you should prepare yourself for, how you can prepare yourself, how you can support your family. So ladies, welcome to the show. How has it been for you and your families, especially in this second wave of the pandemic?
As you said, Manuela, this wave has been really, really close to home. I think the first one was still on, do you know somebody, who knows somebody, who knows somebody? But for this one, like everybody knows somebody and somebody really, really close to home. So I think before the lockdown, friends and family, like on a daily basis, would be sending messages that they're tested positive and how they were nursing themselves. Others had to end up in hospital. Others were self-medicating at home, taking care of themselves at home. I also remember I had a really, really, really bad bug myself. And I think there was something also going around that mirrored COVID, but I went for 2 tests. I still came out negative. And I remember there was a period when people were just sick, and you just self-medicate just in case, you come ahead of the disease. So I remember then when we started, then when the president locked us down officially, a partial lockdown, I was actually nursing a patient and he was really ill and I had to be with him. And that was a little difficult because everybody would keep asking, so you're nursing somebody, you're living in the same house as somebody who is positive. And I knew that the SOPs were an issue, like they were legit. So for as long as I practiced the SOPs, and 3 weeks later, he's now all right. He's now fine. The only issue was if anyone knows what it means to take care of a male patient, that's where the only struggle really comes in. But we survived, and that was great. So for me, it's always about the silver linings, the positivity around it. I count the survival rates more than I do the death rates. Again, of course, we miss our extended family. We miss being interacting with people. In our culture, we like to interact. We miss that as well. The deaths, I'm so sorry to hear about your deaths at home, Manuela. 6 is a large number. And we've been seeing people on WhatsApps, my auntie, my sister, so all those messages have been coming in. In my family, there's not been too close, so we've been really a supportive family. We call ourselves a supportive family. We render support to those ones who have comfort, support, and strength to other people as in their trying times. As it seems, there are people who have had deaths really close to home and many at a time, and they're really struggling. So
I think for me, the biggest concern or point of concern in this particular pandemic has been the information overload. My God, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, and the thing about the information is you just sort of don't know who is right, who is wrong. On the one hand, the Ministry of Health is saying don't self-medicate. On the other hand, people are afraid, I don't want to wait to die, so like Pumla said, I feel an itchy throat, I run to the pharmacy, get some medicine, and just sort of get ahead of the disease. On my family's part, we've really done our best to stay safe, to keep indoors. Even before the lockdown, I think when we started hearing that so many people were passing and dying, I mean, at first it was just like, these people are exaggerating. It can't be those many people dying. And then we started hearing, people close to us passing. This was before the lockdown. And so from that point on, we started really exercising the SOPs, I guess being a bit more vigilant about them, going out with masks, sanitizing, social distancing. Partly because my dad is vulnerable, he's not well, which means any slight infection could sort of tip him over. And one of the things that we actually did was bring him to Kunjili, which is where he comes from. Because this side of town, or rather this side of the country, yes, there's caution and all of that, but the disease has not really ravaged up country as much as it has Kampala, Wakiso areas. So that was one of the things that we did. So we brought him and mom, and of course he likes it here. The air is fresher, and he's able to keep safe and away from the traffic back in Kampala, which would have exposed him to the virus. So yeah, just that extra precaution. But I feel like fear and anxiety is at an all-time high. And that's one, because of the information, not knowing who is right and who is wrong. There's the pro-vaccine camp, there's the anti-vaccine camp, and everyone has information supporting their camps. And it's crazy. There's just so much going on. And then, of course, the deaths have, been top of that information list, on WhatsApp groups that you're on. So and so has lost her dad. I remember on one of the groups that I'm on for Gaza old girls, there was a week, my God, so and so has died. This one's father has died. This one's parent has died. At one point, one of us lost both parents in the space of hours. Her mom died on like an evening today, and then the following morning her dad passed away, and I was just like, my God, what is happening?
I think for me it's been, like I shared earlier, we've lost so many people, and I think for me it's been really painful because I saw it coming. Immediately the older children were released to go back into school. I was like, this is going to happen. And I remember during the last, we had a meeting as the Early Childhood Development Association with the First Lady. And we intimated this. We intimated that, yes, there was an intimation that there was going to be a second wave. And we kept saying, you've released all the children into schools. The second wave is going to be even bigger than it should actually be, by virtue of the fact that you've released older children. And in that meeting, I remember that we were asked to trust the scientists. And I remember coming home and I had such a heavy burden on my heart. Like I was so burdened, and for so long, because the entire time I was just waiting. So for me, that's where I was at. And of course, I'd warned the people around me. I told my husband, I told my mom, I said, guys, they've released older children into schools. Get ready. That's all I kept saying. Get ready. I remember probably the first death in our home happened when a child had come from school. A child in S3 had come from school, and he had played basketball with my uncle. And 5 days later, he was normal. And I remember thinking to myself, we warned these guys. We did this. We said, the research showed that this was going to happen. So even me right now, every day when I see like a new notification or information that, children will start school again in this time, I'm just like, do not release children over the age of 5 to go back to school. Children above the age of 5 should not be going back to school. Let them stay e-learning. If anyone wants to go back to school, let the smaller ones, the younger ones, yes, but the older ones, please do not release them, because we are going to keep seeing these deaths. And we've seen it in every country. Immediately they release older children. That's it. So for me, I'm in a place of pain, because it's not just it. I saw it coming, and we warned, and it still happened. And so for me, it's extra painful, because I feel like these deaths could have been avoided, but they were not. They could have been avoided. There's deaths that didn't need to happen, because I think for most, at the point when my first uncle died, everybody now just had to come for burial, and we had not yet been closed off. And so then all the other multiple deaths then happened after. So I'm just like, this could have been stopped. Like, somebody could have stopped this. The top scientist, the advisor to the president, could have stopped this. But no, we are not going to do it. Anyway, yeah, let me not say anymore.
Manuela, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. My sincere condolences for your uncles. It's really been tough. And at ours, I'm personally an essential worker. So at first when, we're called out that we still have to go, to the market because I work in the field, I was like, I really had mixed feelings. I'm like, really, at this point, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety. Many people had lost their lives, loved ones, even before the president locked. Many people were dying. So, like for me, the scare started. So when he called out for us to close, I was like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. And I remember him saying, guys, don't blame COVID. Blame yourselves because you're the ones that are going out to catch it, I think there's a statement where he said, don't blame this disease. I mean, it's us that are not doing the right thing. We're not observing the SOPs right. But now more than ever, at least you move and see everyone wearing a mask. Before, like Pumla said, man, people were like, wow, this is a political thing, man. COVID is not real. But this second wave, like it has synced into everyone that this is real, now more than ever. And for me, losing, I lost a former workmate, and it was so painful. Like it was so painful. At that time when she passed on, my parents had been unwell. Like my dad got a cold, and then my mom was telling me she was unwell, and then I kept telling them, can we come over? And he kept saying, no, don't come at this time. So that anxiety, I kept telling them, man, you need to go and have this test. Is it COVID? Are you sure it's not? So they had lots of people coming in to give them treatments. But like for me, that's when the fear sank in, like the anxiety. I'm like, wow, if it's now coming close to home, this is real. But this wave, it's been tough. My friends have lost their parents. Many of my close people have lost their loved ones. Fortunately for me, in a family, I don't know of anyone that has lost. My aunties are well, my uncles, most of my relatives are still okay, but it doesn't change the fact that it is bad. Like overall, the country is sad. We're in just a state of, sadness. It's emotional for everyone. It really is. But for me as an essential worker, just, the SOPs. I have my mask on daily. My sanitizer is close to me, and that's how I'm trying to manage. I'm trying to manage it that way, but it's really tough. I really feel for the people that have lost their parents, their loved ones. It's really been tough.
Yeah,
it's been tough.
So what has been your coping strategy? How are you coping mentally, especially?
Since I go out, when I come home, I ensure to steam. I steam on a daily. I take my lemon and garlic and ginger. I want to do that on a daily because it boosts your immunity. At least you know that you're ahead of it. And then I work out at least 3 times a week. When I do that, at least part of my mind state is a bit stable. I feel like I'm trying to do something about it. I'm not just seated there waiting for because actually we've been many doctors have been encouraging that we make our bodies active, take a walk, work out, do something about it. Yeah, so that's how I'm trying to keep stable, and mostly praying. I praying now more than ever. I pray more often, yes. So that's how I'm trying to keep sane in this season.
For coping, I'll say for me, I like mental health for me has always started with my body, really. I'm an outdoor person, so I like to power walk. For me, when I feel there's something caving in, I just go out and walk. Like I walk not aimlessly, but I just do walk distances until I feel that weight off my shoulders, and it always comes. Whether it's a kilometer, 2, 3, 4 kilometers into my walk, it always comes. For me, mine always starts with that power walk, and as long as I've done that, then when I feel I'm fine, I'm fresh, then I start to do other things intentionally, like again, because of this particular, in the context of COVID, they keep encouraging us, make sure your immune system is fine, make sure your immunity is good. So of course, now I've done the exercise, then now I focus on other things. I eat healthier, I eat better. I'm a junkie. So I really now try to incorporate my vegetables and fruits in this period. And then I relax intentionally. I sleep. Like when it's time for bedtime, I sleep at the right times. I try to sleep for appropriate a number of hours. I try to eat healthy. I try to exercise, and then I relax intentionally. Like I get off whatever I'm doing, and I relax my body, because sometimes you don't even realize that you're pushing your body so much. I didn't join the herbalist movement. This whole Ugandans, we really became herbalists in this time. I didn't join that movement. Now, yeah, the COVID small. That one caught me somewhere. So even these, like, I like distractions also help. I'm able to work from home, so at least I don't have to be worried like Rosette. Like if I was told to go into office, I will not lie to you, I would be really worried. But since I can work from home, I can work remotely, so that's been great. During the week, I'm mostly working. Then cooking also, I love to cook, so I cook. Even these bump love sessions that we're having, when we're not speaking about the pandemic, it's such a relief, because we're speaking about something non-related to sadness or death. We're speaking about children. I love to speak about children and parenting. And then also, lastly, my brain has always had like an auto switch. I don't know if I taught it or Simani. I respond to good news. Like for me, you know how they say human beings, when you tell them so many good things can happen, and then they're like, oh, jolly, but for as long as something sad happens, they forget every other good thing and focus on that badness, on the sadness, on the ugliness. I don't have that. For me, the goodness still remains. Goodness for me is always at the forefront of my brain. So whether you tell me there are 20 deaths, for me, I'll always remember the 150 survivors, the 1,000 survivors over anything, because I can't do anything about the sadness. Yes, I'm a human being, I'm an emotional person, I will not lie. But now what? It has happened. All that's going to happen is I'm going to kill myself, worrying, being sad, being anxious, being uncomfortable. I'm not about that life. Like, I can't deal. People have survived. Guys are celebrating. People are okay. I've woken up every day. I woke up, and as I told you before, I had a patient. Every day I woke up feeling fine. I was like, you guys, we are conquering the world today. So my brain kind of has an opposite. I kind of blur bad news. The weight I attach to sadness and grief is so minimal. It's like, it's a really small weight. Then when someone comes and tells me, my child even took their first step, I even forget there is COVID. That goodness and that happiness for me overpowers everything. I'm able to postpone or delay grief to a more appropriate or convenient time. It's a superpower, I've been told. So when things are normal and okay, then sometimes you will see that things seep in. And because now everything is all right with the world, then it's convenient time. I don't encourage you to try this at home. It has taken practice. So for me, that's how I am. I think a superpower. I'm able to attach weight to goodness. I much heavier weight, and that just keeps me going. And I wish people could just be more positive people. And yes, even amidst sunshine, amidst the rain, I tell people every day, nowhere in the world has it ever rained forever. Nowhere in the world. Even Noah, was it 40 days? The flood stopped, the rain stopped eventually, and a dove brought the olive branch. And I'm not even religious, but I can understand that the symbolism in that context. So why can't you? Even the Bible is telling you that the rainbow, there's always a rainbow after. The rain will stop eventually, and we will be okay. And for me, if I'm thinking long term, I'm thinking at the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We'll be okay. Things will be fine. It's just a bad time right now, but things will be all right.
If I could pick from really what Pumla has said, and I really wish you and I have had this conversation before, that I am the complete opposite. I attach so much weight to bad news or to sadness and suffering, and I fail to see the good. And that's a gift which I wish the world would embrace, and I wish all of us would embrace. And I think part of my coping strategy has been to focus on good stuff that is happening. I've really tried, especially in this last wave, because you guys, the news has been crazy, and it's coming at such a rate that if you don't do something, you will also sort of be caught up in the sadness. So some of the things that I have tried to do, I don't know if I would say that I enjoy cooking, but I like good food. Let me put it that way. I like good food, and I don't usually like to entrust that to someone else to cook unless I'm in a restaurant. So one of the things that I enjoy doing when I go to YouTube is looking out for recipes that I can try at home, and I have really tried that at my home. Except now I'm in Rukunjiri, so I'm eating fresh food that has not been cooked by me. But yeah, I have really found comfort in food, in healthy food, and I've also taken a step to make sure that I'm eating healthy. So my veggies, I'm doing the soy milk and the almond milk. I'm also doing oats. Yes, yes, Manuela. Making sure that I'm doing healthy snacks, my sim sim, my nuts and raisins, and just taking joy and comfort in knowing that I'm nourishing my body, and that's one of my coping strategies. The other thing has been to reflect on the when I finish a day, and yes, I hear so many people have died, but my family has been preserved, we are home safe, no one is sick or whatever. I really take time to thank God, you guys, like, because surviving now and living is really a miracle, and just to reflect on that and think about that gives me joy and strength for the next day. So those have been some of the two, and just really enjoying the comfort and warmth of my family and my loved ones. I know that for some people they don't have that luxury because of COVID, and COVID has taken away some of their loved ones, and we commiserate with you. Our prayers and and condolences are with you. But I've found comfort in knowing that my family is safe, and reflecting on that. So those have been some of the things that I've done to cope and to survive.
Interesting. Mine, obviously, cooking is not something that I am doing. I am not going to cook. So to be honest, I sometimes I'm like Pumla, and then sometimes I'm like you, Rachel. So I need to find time in my life to find out when am I affected in certain ways. So I remember one of the things that I thought about is we are at war. Right now we're at war, and usually like at war you have people at the front of the battlefield, and then you have those at the back, and there's people that get shot at and they die. Do you know what happens? You step over the dead body and move. So I've been affected by the pandemic two ways, personally, but also with my business. So when it comes to the business side of things, I look at it like war. Like, this is war, time to step over and move. But then when it came to personal, I was like, this movement is not easy. And so, because so many people have passed away, we are constantly anxious. Barrier, we're like, don't go, nobody go, and yet we like to mourn with each other. So it's been quite, it's been quite hard, especially on the personal end of things. Business, I could cope, but the personal, that one hit me. So right now what I'm doing is I'm avoiding as much news as I can get from this pandemic. If I see there's a group where there's people who are mute, if there's mute news, I don't watch news anymore. I just, I spoke to my husband. I said, just give me the news highlights. Just, if I don't need to know, then I don't need to know. So I've really separated myself from the virus, but also now in that time, I'm using that time to pray and, just, bring myself back to life as I know it without the pandemic, right? So that's pretty much how it's been for me, and how I'm coping. I'm just separating myself from it physically, emotionally. Even this particular show, I'm just like, why are we having this show now? Why? It's, for me, the virus is too close, the deaths are too close. I don't want to. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm also doing a lot of intellectual growth, so reading books. I started a YouTube channel, so I'm there recording the whole day. That's all I'm doing now. People have no idea that I'm using them to cope in this to cope in this period, that this is what I'm doing. I'm going to shower. I'm going to what? That's absolute coping mechanism, and I'm okay with it. I've embraced it. So yes, that's what we've been doing, or that's how I'm managing to cope during this period. Now, mental health for a family can only be best advised and talked about with people that are professional. In our next episode, we're going to speak to a psychologist who will tell us how we can help our families to cope during this period. Until next time, with love from Bump Love.